So PC gaming handhelds have really started to become popular. Super versatile experience, tons of community support, and they're really only improving with time. 4 years ago, when the PS5 and Xbox Series X came out, this market really hadn't matured yet. So a PC gaming handheld against one of these traditional consoles wasn't really a consideration for a lot of people back then. But today, this conversation has gotten interesting. I personally have received a ton of questions about what this conversation looks like in 2024. How do these experiences differ? Which devices out there offer the best value for your money? And why would you choose one over another? So I have a solution. Since everyone has different areas of importance they care about, I've broken it down into 5 distinct, meaningful categories that you can decide for yourself which scenario would be best for you. Of course, we're comparing handheld devices, Linux versus Windows versus a console, which is not a one-to-one comparison, but they are closer than you might think. The first category is going to cover a really important one for a lot of people, and that's user experience. You want a device that's reliable, that just works without necessarily needing to tinker with it to get your games running. But you also might not want to sacrifice a ton of flexibility features for this ease of use. Category number 2 is going to cover value. So that's the overall affordability of the device itself, upgrades to get it fully fledged out and running, the associated services and platform benefits that come with it. Next will be number 3, which is versatility. This one is uniquely interesting because obviously you want as many games compatible with your device as possible. But what if you want to do a little bit more than just game? Add some mods, run some emulation, or maybe even some productivity work. And that leads us into category number 4, performance. Huge area of weight for people that want to play the newest AAA graphics heavy titles or want those higher refresh rates for that experience. And finally, our last category is wow factor. This one is the most subjective of all, but it factors in the overall innovation within the industry, what's the most exciting device to use that offers you the best support experience going into the future. So I've been using all 3 of these types of devices on a daily basis, on and off for a while now, and I have some thoughts. User experience. Right when you get any of these out of the box, the setup is vastly different, jumping from device to device. Now, first, if you're used to just jumping into consoles already, then something like a PS5 will feel right at home. You just hit the power button in your controller, log into your account, and that's pretty much it. There's realistically no tinkering. Once in a while, you get an update here and there, but then again, the console experience has always been unmatched compared to a Windows experience when it comes to simplicity. With the Ally, you do have to deal with the constant Windows updates, BIOS, drivers, install launchers, apps, but eventually it pretty much stables out. You do get the benefit of the lack of simplicity, and that's the amount of customization you do have. If you launch a game, you have the option to tweak that game exactly the way you want. But since the Ally runs on Windows, which isn't exactly optimized for a joystick and triggers, the lack of controls on a system that is so heavily reliant on a mouse and keyboard begins to show. Now, for the Steam Deck, it's essentially a mix of both of those options because of the way Valve has designed their platform with Linux. You can get that console-like experience where you just hit the power button, it wakes from sleep, and you're gaming. But if you want to venture into that world of tinkering, there are options there for you. The Linux desktop mode lets you realistically do whatever you want with your Steam Deck. So if you're after that ease of use category where everything just works, the PS5 and the Steam Deck would be at the top with the Ally right behind. So now we have to talk about affordability. Right now you can pick up an ROG Ally Z1 Extreme for $599, and you can find them around about $100 on Best Buy if you can find them open box. The Z1 edition is also only $400 now, which makes it a way better option compared to the launch prices if you are okay with less performance. I would recommend upgrading the 512 gig internal storage with either a 1TB SSD or SD card, but be aware of the issues that the SD card readers can have. So that brings our total to roughly $700, brand new with a 1TB SSD. There are no online fees for Steam access. You can take advantage of Epic's free monthly games, and you're getting a pretty sweet hardware package. Now for the PS5, these are currently $500 for the disc edition or $450 for the digital edition. That includes 1TB of storage and a controller, but you do have to pick up a PlayStation Plus subscription if you want online access or monthly games. And for the last device, the Steam Deck can be picked up for $350 for the LCD model. The OLED variant is $200 more, or you can get a Valve refurbished model for as low as $280 when they are in stock. Once you factor in a 1TB SSD or SD card, it comes out to roughly the same as the PS5, but just like the Ally, there is no monthly subscription fees. You can take advantage of Steam sales and buy your game keys for much cheaper than you would on a console, in my experience. The PS5 and Xbox do offer pretty outstanding hardware for the price, like finding a PC for the equivalent of hardware performance around that price range is almost impossible. So for this category, to summarize it all up, the Steam Deck is at the top for the absolute best bang for buck, with the PS5 and Ally right under it. Now, both handhelds come with included charging bricks that have non-removable cables. If you are looking for an upgrade in this department, channel sponsor Ugreen dropped this Nexode X 160 watt charger. It does have you covered if you want to charge multiple devices. There's 4 ports that can add up to 160 watt output, which is more than enough for a phone, a laptop, or even a handheld, all at the same time. I use it to charge all the handhelds recently, which it's been clutch if you're traveling and don't want to carry multiple adapters. It uses the latest gallium nitride tech, which keeps the heat output minimal, and the whole package pretty compact for its power delivery. They are quoting the top USB-C port at 140 watts of power output, which charges a 16-inch MacBook Pro to 50% in 27 minutes. And it has support for Samsung's 45 watt super fast charging 2.0, the power delivery 3.1 charging protocol. So if you're looking for an upgrade to the do-it-all charger for all your devices, Ugreen's got something pretty interesting. So shout out to Ugreen for sponsoring this video, and I'll drop links to all their stuff in the description. So then category number 3 is versatility, which means which device out there can quite literally do more than the others, because there's some good stuff here that the handhelds can do that the PS5 just can't. And one of those is serving as more than just a handheld gaming console. Emulation can unlock a whole new experience of games that you might not have touched in years from many different console types. You want to play one of the games you used to play on your Nintendo devices? You can do it. You can even customize the control layout to support pretty much any game type you can find. The PS5 is obviously going to excel at being the best place to play those new PlayStation exclusive titles at launch, but the limited backwards compatibility that requires a monthly subscription to play those older PS3 games and having to use cloud streaming in some cases is rough. Having a full-fledged productivity setup in addition to the standard gaming experience in one package is pretty amazing. If you need either a Windows experience or a Linux desktop experience, you just take any handhelds, you throw them on a dock, and you're pretty much good to go. So for the people that want the most versatile experience with ultimate compatibility for gaming, that includes modding and cloud streaming your games at the cost of performance and fidelity, they're pretty much set with a handheld. Now, on the other hand, for those that don't mind sacrificing a bit of that flexibility and versatility and want that ultimate 4K laid-back experience, this is where traditional gaming consoles are going to excel at offering that experience without having to spend so much money on a high-end gaming PC. So the performance category, you knew this one was coming. The Steam Deck is just not the most powerful handheld out there. It's the perfect backlog destroyer, especially if you're into older games or indie titles, and you can look at it as comparable to the power of the PS4. Newer multi-platform titles are not going to be the best experience on something like a Steam Deck. With the Ally, you do get a higher fidelity display at 1080p and up to 120 Hz, which is perfect for the titles that can reach those frame rates. But the added power that the Ally does deliver with FSR support, 120 Hz, 1080p, just can't deliver the power of a Series X or a PS5 with dynamic resolution scaling at 4K 60 or 120. If you want that best experience for something like a shooter or Helldivers, one of these new big titles, and you want that big screen fluid gameplay, the handhelds just don't have the power to reach the levels of the current gen consoles. And for those reasons, the console takes the cake with the PS5 up at the top, with the Ally to follow, and the Steam Deck at the bottom. So that brings us to our final category, and that's wow factor. And this one is completely subjective, like I've mentioned before, but it has become one of my most favorite categories. Before this wave of PC gaming handhelds hit the market, I had a powerful PC and a console, but I can't place my eye on exactly what has happened ever since I got into handhelds, but I find myself picking up games significantly more often and committing to trying more titles that I would have never tried in the past. It may be due to the form factor factor. The portability aspect is huge, just for the excitement of being able to take your games on the go pretty much wherever you are. Sometimes I don't want to sit at the desk I've been sitting at all day doing work to play my games, so having the flexibility is huge. Being able to just pack up one of these handhelds and literally play your games wherever you are adds a ton of freedom to this entire experience. Battery life is still a limiting factor when it comes to these freedoms, and something you obviously don't have to deal with a PS5 or a Series X. This whole handheld market is becoming ultra competitive right now. You're seeing Lenovo jump into it, MSI jump into it, Asus jump into it, you have Valve. It's a really exciting time for this industry where nothing feels stagnant. That's not to say that we're not also gonna see more powerful consoles coming out soon with the next generation Xbox and a PS5 Pro, but I think the line between the console experience and handheld experience is going to blur with time. Right now, I feel like it's the perfect time where a lot of these devices have matured to the point where if you've never experienced the wow factor of portables, it might be worth it to you, maybe over the added fidelity experience of a PS5. So to sum it all up, again, in my experience, all these devices cater to different people with strengths in each category. They all serve different purposes. I use a PS5 basically on a daily basis for the visual gaming experience for racing games, so I take advantage of those exclusive titles with the added performance. But handhelds have become a game changer for me, being able to take my Steam library anywhere, playing tons of indie games in the perfect package. Again, it really depends on what you want to do with your devices. If you're the type of person that wants to stay at home after work, play your games, a Series S or a Series X with Game Pass can be a really good option. Of course, the PS5 is always on the table, but you always have to deal with the fact that the consoles are a stagnant, plug-in, big TV. You really don't have the freedom you have with handhelds. So choose your winner based on what categories are most important to you, and don't overlook the handhelds, especially the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally. And that's about it for today. Hope this video was of some value to you. Drop a comment down below if you want to ask any questions about this entire experience. And we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up, so stay tuned for that. Huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.